Welcome to the Changemaker Sessions. Tonight, our topic is toxic self-talk and how to change it. And I just not only want to welcome my bright, shiny faces that are here with us live, but also those of you who are watching the replay. It's wonderful to have you in spirit here. I'm Kimberly Carroll, and I am a coach for Changemakers. What I do is I help those that are trying to change the world. I help you with the inner work and the shifts and the healing. I help you with the high performance habits, and I help you with the strategies to really make you unstoppable in your mission. And this evening, our aim is to take that nasty inner voice and to well, first of all, examine a little bit about why it's happening. I really need you to understand how this nasty inner voice, letting it sort of go freely, is screwing you, and how to start to shift it. Okay, some really tactical ways of doing that, and to shift it not just for the sake of you, but for the sake of your mission. And I'll explain that a little bit more too. But let's get the chat warmed up, folks. This is a place where you can support each other, get to know each other a little bit better. Where are you joining us from? That's the first question I'm asking. And let's, I love a 1 to 10. So as far as toxic self-talk goes, where are you on the scale of, we're going to go from 0 to 10, and 0 being, I have no toxic self-talk. I am so kind. I'm my own best friend. Okay. And it's all good. To 10, I have declared myself enemy number 1, charge. Okay, that's 10. So where are you between 0 and 10? Let's see it in the chat. I'm going to go over and just kind of see what's happened with everyone. I am seeing oh, Patricia, thank you. I'm glad I'm feeling better too. We've got Denver at 8. We have in Ottawa at 2, another Ottawa at 5. Okay, well, maybe the 2 and 5 can get together and we can land at 3.5. Halifax is saying 6, but depends on the day. Actually, so 2 is really great. I forgot what my scaling is, but 2 is amazing. In Ottawa, another Ottawa, 7.5. Mexico, a 3 or a 4, very nice. Kate from Winnipeg is here and saying a 5. Okay, so right in the middle. We have Pennsylvania in the house with 3 to 4. Pretty low compared to my 20s. Yeah, I agree, Wendy. My goodness, my self-talk was brutal in my 20s. I'll tell you about that soon. Carl says 6 and joining us from Manitoba. Sue is joining us from Barrie. We have Ottawa at 7, Wasaga Beach at 5, and 3 in West Vancouver. Okay, amazing. So nice little mix there. And I love that some of you folks that are at like 2 to 4 are still here, knowing how important the whole idea of the talk and the self-relationship that your self-talk determines. So I want to start off tonight with just a little check-in, folks, a little check-in to yourself. Tonight is about cultivating self-relationship, and specifically in terms of how we speak to ourselves. But self-relationship really is the foundation of not only having a good life, but being a really powerful change maker. So self-relationship, one of the core strategies around self-relationship is checking in on your sweet self and seeing how you are. I mean, we don't get asked enough in real life, how are you? How are you really? Okay, so it's important for you to at least do that for yourself. So I'm going to ask you to get yourself all comfortable. Just make sure that you're on mute for this so that you don't have to worry about any sounds. And when you're ready, let's just close the eyes or cast the gaze downward. And let's just start off, because we're coming from all different places and we've probably all already had a day. Let's just start off with a nice big cleansing breath in And on the exhale, I just want you to sort of shake out those shoulders. Just let them ragdoll, shaking out those shoulders and then letting that shake sort of go down through the stomach, down to the chest, down to the hips. Let's let it come up into the head, and let's just really shake out that head, that brain, that staleness of the thoughts, even shaking out the facial expressions and the lips, and then letting everything go slack. Oh yeah, a good little shakeout is always in fashion. So now just sort of settling into this living moment. We don't need to worry about the past right now. We don't need to worry about the future. We don't even need to actually worry about what's going on right here, right now. Let's just go into this moment and how it feels. So, first of all, the air in this space that you're in. Where do you feel the air on your skin? Does that air feel cooler or warmer to the touch? Thicker or thinner? Is there movement or is it very still? And just checking into the sounds of this moment, this living moment. Maybe there's many sounds, maybe there's relative silence. But letting whatever sound is sort of most calling to you, just really breathing into that sound. Almost like you could climb up inside that sound. And one more, just with your eyes cast down through your eyelids, just noticing the play of light. Noticing shapes, designs, color. And you are entering into the next hour of just sanctuary, okay, where you don't need to take care of anybody. You don't need to perform for anybody. You don't need to check a bunch of boxes. Just a time for you to sit back and be in community and explore. So just noticing where in your body maybe there's a lot of holding on, part of your body that's like, nope, can't let go. I gotta just keep the things in control. And wherever that place is, just breathe specifically into it, okay? Just breathe some beautiful, still, spacious air into that place. Slow breaths like you're just sipping beautiful, cool sips of water. And on the exhales now, just seeing if you could soften a little bit, just letting go. On each exhale, just seeing if you could. So not only taking sips of that water, but almost like you're spreading your arms out and just letting yourself fall back into that refreshing water. And now in this place of feeling and maybe being a little bit more present, I want you to get really tender with yourself. I'm really curious. And I want you to ask yourself, how are you, sweetheart? Buddy, how are you? And then I just want you to listen. I just want you to see what feelings come up in response to that question. Oh, my love, how are you? And whatever comes up, just silently into yourself, give it a name. Breathe into it. And if there's a lot of things, just keep naming and breathing into it. And now letting yourself drop deeper into that beautiful, clear, healing water inside of you. Letting yourself drop down deeper. Just letting go deeper. And softening deeper. And now in this deeper, more quiet, maybe more hidden place, once more, sweetheart, buddy, how are you really doing? How are you really doing? And whatever comes up, whether it's challenging or amazing or somewhere in between, just rest with it. Just breathe into it. Just make space for it. All right. Let's take in one more grounding breath. And letting go with a nice big sigh. And when you're ready, you can come back to eyes open. Oh, there you are. That felt great. It felt great doing that in a circle. I ask myself that a lot, but it was really felt nice to do it with friends. And we've had join us while we were under. Gerbine is here now. Janet, Uday, hello. And I saw Cheryl. I'm sorry you got caught in the waiting room, Cheryl. We were in the middle of a meditation. That's what was happening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have left you for so long. So yeah, I really wanted to start this on an intimate level tonight, folks, because that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about a form of intimacy with ourselves that we need to be really aware of how it informs us for the good or for the bad. Or for the, we'll say, fortunate or less fortunate. So one of the most powerful things that you need to do if you want to make a difference in the world, it's not strategy. It's important. It's not raising your productivity level, which it can be also important. It's not getting rich, which can be really great for the movement. But what is really the most powerful thing that you need to do to make a difference in the world is to stop being such an asshole to yourself. Okay, I want you to let that sink in a little bit. And you think I'm exaggerating? Okay, I want to see hands. I want to see hands on this one. Hands up if just on any of these thoughts, if they've gone through your mind lately. I'm not doing enough. I'm so stupid. I'm so lazy. Any of the above. I look so old, so tired, so fat. They're going to find out I'm a big old fake. And you don't deserve any of the above, that love, that vacation, that partner, that money, Yes, both hands up. So yeah, folks, I mean, so that kind of thing, can you imagine saying that to anyone else in your world? I mean, I'm talking about you wouldn't even say that to your worst enemy, okay? And yet here you are being so ruthless with a person that the only person guaranteed to be with you from first breath to last. And the person who's trying to do the work in this world that's so important to you. Does that sound like a good idea? Does that sound like a sound plan? No. So, one of the first things I need to say is, folks, you cannot take on the world if you don't even have your own back. Okay. This kind of toxic inner voice, it chips away at your confidence and your courage, and it will erode your wellness. Okay. All of the things that are imperative to have if you want to be a powerful change maker. So let's talk a little bit about why is this the default, okay? Especially for such a crew that I know a lot of you, and I know what stellar people you are. I know how beautiful you are. I know what amazing things that you do for others in this world and in your life. And so what's up? So generally in this society, we are programmed to be so hard on ourselves. Okay. And we can probably talk about how a capitalist society contributes to that. Products don't get sold if people feel well enough. Like if people feel like they're good, if they feel fulfilled, if they feel like they're good enough, then they're not buying a bunch of shit, right? So all the marketing in our society is geared towards making us feel like we are not good enough. But this even goes far further back. This goes back to some primal stuff. Basically, we are taught if we're not hard on ourselves, we're not going to improve and we're not going to be successful, which is code for being acceptable enough to not be ejected by the tribe. Okay, so this goes back into very early years in human history when if we weren't part of the tribe, we were dead. Okay, if we got kicked out because we did something wrong or we weren't, appealing to the crew, if we weren't acceptable in some way, it's really tantamount to dying. Okay, so this is a really deeply primal held kind of programming that we have. And then let's add on top of that change makers, okay? You're all people with big hearts, okay? Have a sensitivity to the suffering of others and to the state of the world. And so there is something in you, there's a drive that wants to help, wants to care for, wants to fix, wants to heal. And that leads to a lot of pressure in us. Okay. That's a lot of pressure when there is so much that is not going well in the world. There's so much pressure to do enough, to be enough, to do it, to do it brilliantly, to do it with style, to always be doing it. And so that is just a recipe for a lot of hard, harsh words. Okay. And folks, I learned this whole thing the hard way. Like you, I have always cared a lot. I've always been sensitive. And so I, remember very early on, my natural role that I fit into was as a caregiver, as a people pleaser, through, my family of origin, through, the society I was in. So that turned into me having to be, or thinking I had to be relentless with myself to make good of my life. Okay. This led me to being a television host and a producer at 22. I was a producer running a team of 15 people, so you can imagine what an overachiever I was. It also led to a diagnosis of an anxiety disorder and a general real deep dislike for myself. And also just kind of being scared all the time. I mean, I had a lot of bravado. You would never have guessed, but I was scared all the time. And how I talk to myself and treat myself is something that I've done such a 180 on, especially in the last 20 years. It has transformed my life. Honestly, I mean, anybody who knows me, I'll talk about how my self relationship um, how its transformation has really changed me and my work, very much for the good. So what we first of all have to be able to start to obliterate is this idea that if we want to be better, we need to treat ourselves worse. Okay. And we've got, it's so counterintuitive, this idea that if we're talking to ourselves harshly, it will make us stronger, but it does not make us stronger. It weakens us. It eventually breaks us, at least in some way. And not, if it's not in an obvious way, it's in little fractures. Okay, that make us not as effective, not as present, not as courageous in what we do. So I want to make this a little bit more visceral for you. I want you to imagine if you were to speak to a small child the way you do to yourself. Okay. So for example, if you spoke to this child in the way like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you get it right? You are useless. You're never doing enough. What's the point of you being here? Nobody loves you. Everybody thinks you're strange. By the way, you're fat. This child would either be in the fetal position, rocking back and forth, or they would be like the rebel in them would be coming out and saying, screw you. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. In fact, I'm going to do everything I can to screw you up. If you spoke to a child like that, do you think that they would want to all of a sudden spread their wings and all of a sudden, tackle big mountains and have courage to do great things in the world? No, they'd be a shell of themselves. So why would you think you're any different? So luckily, the answer to a better self-relationship and better self-talk also lies in the example that I just gave you. What about if you started talking to yourself like a good, loving parent would talk to a beloved child? Okay, in a way that is curious, in a way that acknowledges what's going on for that person, in a way that's understanding, knowing what you're up against and sort of what some of the shortcomings are that really aren't your fault, in a way that's nurturing, that really strengthens the child, that really makes them believe in themselves, or at least makes them believe that they're being supported and they have a soft landing to come back to in you. Or when you're in pain, when this child's in pain, being able to acknowledge that and try to understand and soothe them and help them reframe and rebuild. Maybe you'd encourage them to step into their power and take action, reminding them that you always have their back. Maybe you'd be really playful and affectionate with them. Okay. And that, my dear friends, is the way you need to treat yourself, the way you need to talk to yourself. Okay. So when, this is a way I often do it. I talk to myself a lot in the mirror. Okay. Because we're always looking in the mirror when we go to the washroom several times a day, especially if you drink as much water as you're supposed to. And so it's a natural cue. And we look in the mirror, and often people will look in the mirror to criticize something or to go, ugh, or whatever. That is a beautiful opportunity to look in the mirror and just go, hey, hi, just, I see you. Okay, acknowledgement. Okay, so if you are going to practice what I call mirror work, you can start with that. Just looking in those eyes, like those eyes that are looking back at you, they're the same eyes that were in that 5-year-old child at one time. Okay, they're the same vulnerability, same beautiful universe in those eyes. So looking in those eyes and at least seeing yourself. Okay, and not just looking at yourself to criticize yourself or to go, ah. I have a friend here that I'm imitating her F. So, but she's not here right now, so I'll keep doing it. And so when I look in the mirror, I will often, I'm not all like Pollyannish about it. I will look in the mirror sometimes and I'll go, oh, honey, you're really tired. I'm sorry. I know it's been a tough ride the last week. I'm going to try to be gentler with you. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing everything you're doing. You're doing good, honey. Okay. So that's the sort of like dialogue. It may not take that long. Maybe it's just a quick little, or sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, sweetheart, why are you getting in tangles about this? Who the fuck cares? Let it go. Shake it out. Let's do this. Okay. So just like a best friend, okay, like a really good best friend has different levels. That's how you are with yourself. Sometimes your best friend is going to have to be really nurturing and soft and gentle and tender with you. And sometimes she's going to have to kick you in the butt lovingly, and she's going to have to be your cheerleader, and she's going to have to snap you back awake to who you are. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. It's not all about lovey-dovey, but I will tell you folks that terms of endearment really help. Okay, terms of endearment help you to cut through the intellect. You know that when somebody calls you, hey dearie, or hi sweetheart, unless you got a thing around that, some people can find that minimizing, but for most of us, it's kind of like, oh, that's nice. I'm a sweetheart. I'm a sweetheart, or whatever it is. Actually, a lot of women don't like when old men do that to us. So I will make a caveat around that. But, a little dear once in a while isn't so bad. So I think terms of endearment can be a really great way to fast track. So you know how in the first, the very beginning when we did that check-in, and I got you to ask yourself, how are you, buddy? Or how are you, sweetheart? Or how are you, my love? I don't know about you. I'd love to hear your experience in the chat and how that was. But often when I ask that question, when I'm in a session with people in person, I literally see their shoulders go down. And I often will see the tears well up, because we just don't get asked that in a soulful enough way. And we certainly don't do the asking very often of ourselves. Okay. We treat ourselves like we're these automatrons that should just perform and shouldn't have any tenderness or love or validation poured into. That's not our job. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be. We have the power. We have more power than anyone else to make us feel supported and loved and seen and empowered. Okay, especially if we've been practicing at it, especially if we've been cultivating that self-relationship. We will spend our entire lives looking for that validation from other people, and it will never be enough. If you are not able to give yourself that validation inwardly, there will never be enough from the outside world, ever. It can help. If you have people modeling in your life, nice validation of you, it can be awesome. It can be a great model, but it's never going to be the be all end all. So I'm just going to go over to the chat for a second. Kat says, I felt relieved when I was being seen. Yeah. Sue said, it made me feel like I belong. Oh my goodness, just that little question, right? And Tenebrae said, terms of endearment either make me sad or I cannot believe it. And so, honey, that's just more practice. Okay. That's more practice. Sometimes in a new relationship, when somebody is being loving to us, we're like, oh, I trust that. This person is, and I don't know if I trust this. And we're the same way. If we haven't been cultivating a relationship with ourselves, we're the same way. I don't know if I trust this. Well, yeah. Why would you trust this? You've been this voice in you has been trash talking you for decades. So it's going to take a little warming up. Okay, put a little sweetheart here and a little buddy there. is really nice. Or even it can be lady or dude or whatever you want to say. It can start all buddy buddy. You don't have to get all intimate with each other right away. You can start in a very sort of casual way. Okay. It's just like building any relationship. You start off, easy and slow. And you get to know each other and the trust builds and you can go deeper and you can go deeper. And eventually that person is so entrenched, in your psyche. It's amazing. Okay, so here's something that comes up a lot with people when I talk about being kinder to yourself, especially in terms of self-talk. And that is, folks are afraid that if they're good to themselves, if they're kind to themselves, especially if they make a mistake, if they screw up, that they're letting themselves off the hook. Okay, that they're papering over problematic behavior and then they're never going to get better. They're never going to improve. And then, of course, they're going to be ejected from the tribe. That's what it always comes back down to. And so, yeah, I really want to address this because this is really an important piece. And this also applies to how you treat other folks because, we can't let people get away with bad behavior. And we can't let ourselves get away with bad behavior. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to shame ourselves and punish ourselves. We just want to reach a place in ourselves where there is an opportunity for deeper understanding and change. Okay. So let's go back to that kid. Okay, so this kid that I've been talking about and how we talk to this little kid in our life. And so if that kid was engaging in behavior that let themselves down or was damaging to others, you'd have to call them on it. Okay, you would have to call them on it, but you wouldn't call them on it saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're a terrible person. You should die. No. We would do it from a place of love and from a place of trying to understand and how to help. Okay. So this would involve understanding that this being is doing the best they can at this moment from what they know, from where they're at and what they're capable of. They have done the best they can. Believe it or not, they did only what they could do. And instead of shaming them, you'd help them figure out the pain or the fear that has caused this bad behavior. Behind every bad behavior, folks, there is fear. Okay. It may be a lot of steps removed from that fear. So it just looks like brazen power plays, but I'll guarantee you it comes from fear. And so it's the same with you. You're not doing shit because you're a bad person, because you're not salvageable. You're doing it because there's some pain or there's some fear or you just don't know. Okay. And I should have mentioned that. So not everything comes from fear. Some of it just comes from plain old, I didn't know. Okay. Ignorance, which can be very dangerous. But if people don't know, they don't know. And so with this child, we'll come back to this child, what you want to do once you've realized, okay, I get it. I sort of get where it's coming from. I understand that they didn't have a lot of choice in the matter. They did the best they could from where they were at. Then it's about firmly and lovingly supporting them and taking responsibility and making healthy adjustments. Okay, so let me model what this dialogue might sound like. So if this child came to you and said, oh, I really messed up. I really hurt this other person. I messed up and and it's terrible and I hate myself and everything. And so you would probably, first of all, put your hands on their shoulder and you look at them. And then you'd say, first of all, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I love you. Okay. No matter what, I'm here and I love you. And then you'd say something like, buddy, you might have done something bad, but you're not bad. Okay. There's something going on. This wasn't in your integrity. So what happened? What was hurting you? What was scaring you enough that you did something that was so unlike you or that wasn't in your integrity? And then once you have that dialogue, then you say to them, let's figure out then how to fix this together. Okay. And that could look like anything. I remember back when I was little, I stole little letters that you put on mailboxes. I stole them from a hardware store. I can't remember if my mom and dad, but I was literally, they were holding me and I was grabbing them off the rack and putting them into my pocket. And do you think that they would just let me get away with it when they found it? No, we had to go back to the hardware store and apologize. And it felt horrible, but they were by my side and holding my hand. Okay. And that it may not be that you have to go back and apologize and do anything, but it may be that when you have this conversation with yourself, like, wow, I really let this project go that I care about. Like, I promised for so long that I would do this project and it keeps falling by the wayside and I feel horrible and I don't know if I can ever do it. And that's when you say, oh, sweetie, yeah, that's hard. And I get it. I see your life. Your life it's intense. There's a lot going on. And I know you really care about this, but you probably say yes to too many things. Okay, you say yes to too many things and you're not saying yes to the right things. And why are you doing that? And then maybe the voice inside of you says, I'm doing that because I'm afraid that I'm not worthy if I don't do all these other things. I'm afraid that people are going to forget me or that they're not going to think I'm worthy of having around. And then that's when you have to be that good parent, that good loving parent and say, that's not true. And whatever it is that you need to say about yourself, I would say something like, you're part of this everything. Like there's no worthy or unworthy. You just are. You're part of everything. Just by being here, you should have love and you should have respect and you should have peace and you should have space. Okay. And I would probably also say, yeah, you need to do things that make you feel good, not just the rest of the world. Or maybe I'd have a tough love. I'd say, hey, maybe all that Netflix that you've been watching, maybe it's more worthy for you to be out there helping this group than filling your head with this numbing stuff. And I don't know, it all depends who you are. Sometimes some Netflix numbing is really good for a person, but I'm just saying these talks with yourself are going to come in all sorts of different forms, depending on who you are and what the situation is. Okay. So I just basically wanted to give you a little bit of a template of the energy and the kind of words that you need to bring to yourself every day in some shape or form. So basically, folks, I need you to think about yourself as being this vulnerable child. And I need another part of you to treat you like the loving, good parent to yourself. Okay. Some of us had great parents. Some of us had terrible parents. Regardless, even if they were great, parents can't help but hurt you in some way. Okay. It's the way of the world. It just happens. And I'll just say I have great parents. But they hurt me. I mean, just like every parent hurts children in some way or form. So what we need to create within ourselves is we need to create that good, loving parent, okay, that everyone should have. That good, loving parent that is there no matter what. That good, loving parent that doesn't see you through the layers of their own hurt and their own sort of misguidedness. You need to be there and you need to be solid and you need to be learning what that vulnerable part of yourself most needs in each moment. And it'll be different from moment to moment. There's not a one size fits all at all. Okay, so it's about just starting and learning and going, oh, does that feel good? Does that feel, does that feel genuine? And in the beginning, folks, I'll tell you, there's not going to be a lot of I love you and no, it's not going to be like that. It's going to feel like, oh my God, that's so foreign. It feels so false. And so that's where it's going to start with, hey, hi, you. Oh yeah, I forgot you were there. And, I see how hard you've been working. Thank you. Okay. It might just start with something like that. Or, that thing that happened that you're obsessing over, it's not really that big of a deal. I got you. Okay. I got your back. I'm here. Or it just might be stick in there, kid. Only a few hours left. Okay. So it will look and feel as you are. Okay. It won't sound the same as my inner voice. But at least if I can model a bit of what it could sound like, then that is great. Now, I want to tell you what happens because I have had this experience. It started off slow. It felt kind of icky and false note-ish. And I just kept at it and I just kept, like making it as genuine as possible. And just like a regular relationship, the more I did it, the closer I got to myself, the more intimate I felt with myself, the more love I started to feel for myself because I started to understand myself. I started to understand that I wasn't just doing shit because I was a bad person or lacking. I did it because I wasn't nurtured in a certain way, or I wasn't educated in a certain way. And so I just do my best to nurture myself in that way and get the help to educate myself in that way. And so what eventually happened is I got to be able to say things to myself like, oh, hi, sweetheart. Wow. Like, I'm really proud of you. Or, wow, that was a giant disaster, but it's all right. We'll be okay. I got you. And I'll tell you, I really need you to hear this. When you have your back in terms of self-talk, when you start to understand that you have your back, your sense of courage skyrockets. Okay. Because yes, we are very afraid of what other people are going to think of us. And we are afraid of people, saying bad things about us or attacking us in some way. Yeah, sure, that's scary stuff. But you know what? That is actually manageable if at our center, in our home, we know that we're coming back to open, loving arms. Okay? It's amazing what we can withstand when in our core, there is always going to be somebody who's going to welcome you back with loving arms and help you work through it, even when it blows up totally. That you're going to come back, and instead of somebody being there going, what is wrong with you? Oh my God, I hate you. You're the worst. It's going to be like, come here. Let me hold you. First of all, okay, let me love you, and then we'll figure it out. Okay, then we'll dig ourselves out of this. Then we'll take responsibility. Okay, then we'll do the work that we need to do to figure this out. And then we'll take the steps we need to take. Okay. And my sense of courage, oh my God, exponential. Okay. Because you're not so afraid of falling on your face. You're not so afraid of people turning against you or people saying bad things. All right. Now, I just also need to say that it's not like I get this right all the time by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I had programming for, almost 4 decades, or at least 3.5 decades of being really hard on myself. I remember a couple of years ago, I left the house. I was in a super hurry. I was going for an appointment and I got a block away and I realized I'd forgotten the papers that I needed for this appointment. And I out loud said, Kimberly, what's wrong with you? I yelled this to myself. And as soon as I heard that, I just went, whoa, 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 whoa. And I stopped. And first of all, I just held my heart and I said, I'm sorry, sweetie. I know this has been a tough week and you have been juggling so many balls. Of course, you're preoccupied. Of course, you're going to forget that. It's okay. We'll go back if we're late. Oh my God, does it really matter that much? Okay. It wasn't anything major, but it turned that into, from a, yet another stake in my heart to, okay, no, it's all right. That's all right. Yeah, no, I am tired and I am preoccupied and okay, like we can get through this. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a better sense of that. Let me go to the chat right now and just see what's being said and if there's any questions that I need to address. Yeah, Shannon said, I like my friend or my love. Now, so I talked about the, thinking of ourselves, talking to ourselves like a loving, good parent. But that might work for you. You may think of yourself as talking, as two best friends talking together, like just two BFFs. That like if your best friend came to you and said, "Oh my God, I've messed up so badly," you would find that love and that tenderness for her, and you would like cheer up and let's fix this. That's the same. So if that's what the relationship that brings this up more for you, or a guy buddy that you just know you can rely on and has your back and is always like, yeah, like I've got you. Or another, some people actually think of our of ourselves as our beloved. Okay, you are the beloved. So many of us wait for the beloved to come along in our life and make us feel whole. Well, sorry, spoiler alert, you are the beloved. Okay, there can be a partner and a great lover in your life, who loves you so well and teaches you so well how to love and be loved. But again, if you're missing that relationship with the beloved inside, you're going to be in trouble at some point. Okay. So feel it out in the next little while. Like, does it help to think about, talking to yourself as this child, as the good parent, or does it help, talking as a really, really dear friend? Okay, let's go back to the chat here. Jennifer said, "This is so enlightening. I've never asked myself how I am." Oh, honey. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that breaks my heart. She's been waiting for so long to be asked. I'm so glad you asked tonight. Do not let yourself go one more day without asking. Ina said, "Ever since I've been asking myself how I am, I suddenly found myself responding with things I really felt I needed. Some days the answer is I'm really tired. And what do I want? I want to go take photos of wildlife and then nap for 2 hours. And it's made a huge difference." Yes. Sue said, "Sometimes I hold my own hands and say, I'm my friend." Mm, I love it. And I love the hug. I love the hug. Even if you lie down and you just like wrap yourself up in that hug, that it can be a wonderful thing. And again, this isn't about being independent and never needing anything from anyone else again. Folks, your relationship with yourself is the foundation for your relationship with every other person or being in your life. Okay, it is the foundation. So we want to make sure it's tight. Okay, so I want to teach you, I want to take you through like a little exercise that I feel is a really good one if sort of the talking out thing maybe feels a little weirdish so far for you. This is just another way of being able to explore this and deepen this self relationship. Okay. And I call it a vulnerable / expansive self dialogue. So if you don't have a pen and paper, grab it. Just grab any pen or paper you got nearby. But it's always good to have pen and paper. And while you do that, I'm just going to read out. Kathleen said, "Speaking of BFFs, listen to how friends talk to you. Sometimes those who are the smartest or most witty, who also have backhanded compliments, are hard on themselves. But sometimes that empathy we extend to them is exhausting, and we need to keep some for ourselves." Yeah, I'm going to bet that most of you are really good at being compassionate with others, of knowing how to speak to others in a way that is supportive and nurturing. So if you do, that is great news because you've already got it in you. You just got to point it inward. Okay. You just go, okay, well, if this was my sister that came to me in this situation, or she was in this state, what would I do? What would I say with her? Where would I be with this? Or if this was my my father. I say old father. My father is not an old type of father, but if if it was this old gnarled father, like how would I speak to him? You might even try your dog. Okay, for some folks here, we are really good at talking to our fur kids. We can just unadulterated joy and admiration and love. Okay, I mean, maybe you're not going to look in the mirror and go, hey girl, how you doing? Hey, girl. Or you should try it. uh I went into a pet store last year to pick up something, and she has a cat of hers that is in the store with her during the day. And so when I walked in, I was like, "No, sweetheart, you." And I was looking at the cat, and then I looked at the woman, and she's kind of standing there looking at the poor Lord. So, "No, sweetheart, how are you?" So I wish we could talk to each other the way we talk to strange, non-human animals. I think it would make our life a lot better. All right. Okay. So let's try this vulnerable and expansive self-dialogue. So it comes in two parts. And you can make it as long as you want or as short as you want when you're doing this on your own. But I'm going to give us about 3 minutes for the first part and 3 minutes for the second part. And I'll time you on it. So for this first part, I'm really going to get you to access that part of you that's feeling not so hot. Okay. Whether it's the part of you that is just feeling a little down, or maybe it's a part of you that's feeling angry, a part of you that is feeling anxious, part of you that has been feeling resentful, worried, just that part of you that is just feeling pretty vulnerable, or activated. Okay. And it's just really feeling into that part of your body that's maybe not feeling great. Okay. Just feeling tight or clenched or frenetic or whatever, but a place in your body that's not feeling great. And that's the key. That's where that sort of pain, vulnerable self is. Okay. So just closing your eyes for a second and just sort of breathing into that. Maybe when you asked yourself how you are earlier, there's some sadness that came out, or there's some concerns that came out. And so when we open the eyes, I'm just going to get you to start writing from that place. And I'm just going to get you to be really honest and just write about what's causing you fear or pain or confusion or whatever. And I'm just going to get you to write for 3 minutes. And this doesn't have to be good writing. It doesn't have to be good grammar. It doesn't even have to be legible. This is from a part of you that needs to be heard and maybe isn't given space enough to be heard. And so just write, and you can swear if you need to. You can be really pathetic if you need to be real. Just nobody else is going to see this. This is just for you. So just write whatever and all of what you're feeling. Okay, you can open your eyes now, and let's just start to write. You don't need to find the gift in it. You don't need to make excuses for it. Just that pure kind of almost childlike place of I'm hurting. And if there aren't words, just describe what you're feeling. All right, I'm going to just give you 20 seconds to finish this part up. And when you're ready, just putting your pen down for a second and closing your eyes. Okay, so at this part in the exercise, you kind of put all of this stuff out there. Maybe gone into a lot of those feelings. Now we just need to clear the deck a little bit. Okay, so I want you to take in a big cleansing breath and give yourself a big body shake out, okay? Shaking out the head, shaking out the shoulders, shaking out the stomach, shaking out the hips, shaking out the expression on the face, even. And then letting everything go slack. And with your eyes still closed, starting to deepen your breath. And this is when we're going to tune in to that more expansive self, that good, loving parent or BFF inside of us. And what we're going to do is we are going to just take some beautiful, big, deep, spacious breaths into the heart. And breathe that heart open. And we're going to let in the cool breeze into the heart, or the warm breeze. We're going to let the birds chirping into our hearts. We're going to let the great big open sky into our hearts. And that big old Mother Earth beneath us. And all the beings struggling and working and trying to figure it out without a manual, including your sweet self. I want you to open your eyes and just look at those words there on that page. This part of you is suffering. They're hurting. And you have the power to be there for them. So what I want you to do now is I want you to pick up that pen, take in a big deep breath, and I just want you to write back to them. Okay, just write whatever it is that you feel that they could most use to hear right now. It may be instructions, it may just be some expression of acknowledgement or love or nurturing. It may be something to make them laugh. It may be just understanding, or it may be to make them feel safe. Okay, so just keep on breathing beautiful, spacious breaths in your heart. And from that place, because I know you all have beautiful, strong, wise hearts, just letting some words flow out of the pen. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just see what comes. Maybe it will just be about getting really curious about what's motivating some of this puzzling behavior in you. Or maybe it'll have nothing to do with it and it'll just be about tenderness. All right, folks, just 20 more seconds to finish up. And for those of you who have finished up, I'd love to hear in the chat what some of the message back to your vulnerable self was like, what the flavor was like, or maybe there was a particular words that stuck out to you. Or maybe there's just a specific energy. Or if you had a particular challenge with it, I'd love to hear about that as well, so that we can do a little bit of work around that. I can address it a little bit. Sue heard, I am not alone. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Wow, that's such a simple but powerful statement. You're not alone. Okay, you're never alone. Never alone in this. All right. So yeah, tell me, I'd like to hear more in the chat, even if you don't want to share the intimate details, what that dialogue was like for you. So Wendy said, you can't control what it is you fear. So yeah, that loving, voice was telling you to let go, honey, surrender, surrender, surrender. Tenebrae said, I can give you nothing. I can be by you as you care for the voiceless animals. Aw. So that's a wonderful starting place, Tenebrae. I will walk with you. Okay. I'm not, I don't know how to hold you fully yet, but I'm going to walk with you. And Tenebrae, you do that enough, and there will be a part of you that part of you that's so deep and so tapped into your universal nature that it will learn how to hold you fully. So love that. Kirsten said, I was surprised that I comforted myself. Yes. Shannon said, I responded as a kind parent and then a wise friend. Love it. You're experimenting with it. Connie said the words she heard were, you are worth it and can overcome. Yes. Patricia said the words were supportive, caring, understanding. You are not alone. Rubine said, I've got you always. You are worthy, loved, respected, trusted, and whole. I've got you. I'm holding you. Beautiful. Kat says, your body does so much for you and you should be honored, not reviled. And it should be honored, not reviled. Absolutely. Jeanette said, do it your way, and love that. Oh, you never need to come back here again. I love it, everyone. So beautiful. And if anybody's inner voice was a little sassy, I'd love to hear that too. I always love a little sassy inner voice. So folks, this is, when I'm recommending for folks, that self-relationship building is a huge piece. This is an exercise that I really like to see you do on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be long. We took 6 minutes to do that. It can be even shorter, but really it just has that 2 parts. You need to allow that part of you that's hurting, that you're trying to be brave about and you're trying to hide it because everybody else needs more help and all of the excuses. You're giving it a place to be heard and seen and witnessed. Okay. So that's the first step. Letting that vulnerable place in you, have space. Okay. Knowing that it's okay, that you don't have to be a super person all the time. And then the second part is trusting, starting to build that sense that you have that nurturing energy in you, that you have that capacity in you to be very powerful and to have a very powerful effect on yourself. Okay. And you need to know that because that is what makes you courageous. All right. Okay. We have just a few minutes left. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask about anything that we covered here tonight, or just something that's come up for you that you would like a little bit of guidance around? You can put it in the chat if you don't want to speak on camera, or you can just unmute and you can ask me about it. Anybody got anything? Yeah, Wendy, go ahead and unmute.
I just wondered, Kimberly, if you have some quick advice for teenage girls who speak in self-hatred, because I don't want to mom them. And if I say anything that sounds like a lecture, that's not helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's kind of like, Wendy, so you're wondering for how to speak to them in this way. Okay. Yeah. And so, and this is when they're showing a lot of hate for themselves, like they're beating up on themselves very vocally.
Yeah, like I wish they could be in this workshop. So I'm just wondering, like, instead of me saying, oh, you should talk to yourself like this, like,
yes,
what I could model or do or say, or
yeah, like it could just be in a little bit more of a curious way, to be able to say, hey, like, you're being really hard on yourself about this thing. Why do you think it is that you did this, or this is how you've been, or whatever you're disappointed in? Why do you think it is this way? Like, is it really your fault?
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So just really getting them to get curious about it, and to just go, yeah, really, like, I was trying pretty hard when I look at it. I was trying pretty hard, and yeah, and also the way you speak to them in those moments too, like you could model it for them. You could just say, sweetie, I'm hearing that this is a real disappointment for you, but there must have been something going on for you to do this, because that's not who I know you to be, or that's not what I know you want. So was there something hurting you or scaring you? That's the best question to ask. Is there something hurting or scaring you? What is hurting or scaring you? I often ask myself that question. In fact, my face tool that I teach, and we actually did a workshop on the face tool a couple of months ago. If you didn't do that one, do it. Watch the replay. I think Kirsten has it. Yeah, she's so quick on the draw. Thank you, my dear. Do it, because it is all about this whole idea of this dialogue with yourself. To really be a curious space for this hurt part of yourself, and then to practice being able to find the right ways to nurture yourself in whatever place you're in, the right ways to care for yourself. Okay, so face, just to remind those that took the workshop, face. F is you begin by feeling what's happening in your body. A is ask. So what is hurting or scaring you is really what it comes down to. What are you believing about yourself? C is care. So bringing to yourself that energy, those words, whatever the medicine is for this hurt. And then E is for evolve. So in this caring energy, what is the next step? Okay, so if you haven't already checked that out, please do. I'm just going to read out a question here, or a comment. Something that came up for me was a reminder that I criticize myself in protection, in the hope that no one else will hurt me by their criticism, as I have already thought it about myself. Yeah, I totally get that. And the thing I'll remind you of is that the way we treat ourselves is the model that other people use on how to treat us. So if you are constantly putting yourself down, I'm going to bet that there's a lot of people in your life that are putting you down. Okay. Whereas on the other hand, if you're kinder to yourself and you're understanding and you're like, oh yeah, I messed up and I understood it's because of this. Like, it's not that you have to be perfect and pretend that everything's perfect inside of you, but to be able to say, yeah, like I wasn't proud of that, but I get where it came from, and I'm, you know, I'm just going to work harder to, or I'm going to work more to fix that. And then so that shows people, no, I'm not somebody who you're going to pound down and who's going to sort of take the shame on me. Okay. Because there's nothing helpful about shame, folks. Okay. Shame says you are bad. You are unsalvageable. Okay. There is nowhere to go with shame. Okay. There can be a form of regret. You know, regret is, oh, I don't like what I did. It's not, I don't like me. I'm a bad person. It's like, I don't like what I did, or I hate what I did. That's regret. Okay. That can be helpful. Shame is never helpful. Okay. All right, folks. Let me see here. Okay, I am just going to read this here, a couple of more questions, and I'm letting you go. Connie says, this has made me think I need a lot more work. Anyone know a good therapist in Ottawa? Aw, Connie. Well, yes, I first of all, please keep coming to the Changemaker sessions. And you can also check out what I do at kimberlycarroll.com, because I do work with people one-on-one. So there you go. All right. Now, I just want to remind you before you go, folks, that we are here every 2 weeks. For the Changemaker sessions. I'm not sure what the theme's going to be yet in 2 weeks. I like to kind of see how it's all feeling, but it'll be something tasty. And you, as long as you're on my email list, you are going to be able to find out as soon as I announce it, what it is. So if you're not on my email list already, I think Kirsten, yeah, there we go. Kirsten put in the chat how you can sign up for notifications of it. So folks, the assignment that you have for the rest of this week is to stop when you realize you're being shitty to yourself, to try to tune into that loving parent within you that can maybe see that vulnerable part of you that's struggling, trying to make its way through, and work with yourself from that place. Okay. Again, because you've been brainwashed from since such an early age, I want to repeat why you need to learn to be loving to yourself, because understanding and love will always build a stronger self than abuse. Okay. Understanding and love will always build a stronger self than abuse. And a strong self is the kind that changes the world for the good. All right. Take yourselves off mute so I can hear your beautiful voices. Folks, can we go out there and start being kinder to ourselves? What do you say?
Yeah.
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 All right, everybody. I'm seeing all the hearts and the love, and I'm sending it right back to you from my heart to yours. I'm taking it in. I'm taking these hearts in. Thank you so much. Okay. Love you, folks. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Great.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.